G'day, welcome to my Corp string challenge videos as we continue to try and get all the way around the world in one continuous line. Seeing if the game will survive that far. Now, someone did mention some of these are just going to be catching up. Someone said there was 2 cities in Algeria. Actually, a few people have said it. So step 1, remember where Algeria is. Equals Algeria. Like there's anything backed up in there. In Algeria. Alright, we'll find it if it comes up again. Everyone's not looking too bad at the moment. Just these cities that have just sort of gained that were quite big, now having to deal with shifting a whole lot of people. So let's put that guy there. Okay, so first up, let's bring in the UAE. Just to shorten some of these. Let's have a look at how the game's looking fast forward. Not too bad. Slowly getting there. Slow it down again though. Now hopefully what I can do soon is grab the last of these cities on the peninsula here. Countries. And then we can let this guy run for a bit. So at the moment we're ending here. Say we probably want to give the UAE probably about 10 minutes or so to see what we gain there. These guys are going to be... I've got a mix of big planes and small planes in this area, but remembering that I am going to leave this for a while pretty soon. Like I'll let the Peninsula run and just sort of make me some money as well as gain a whole bunch of cities that we haven't gotten. There's no point in upgrading these guys because who knows what sort of amount of cities we're going to get. Now, possibly for that, it would be good to try and get all the way to Turkey or... I don't know. So that we've got these guys that are going to be reasonably big, that we've got that sort of like have knocked off. I kind of feel that at the point that I open up Russia, I should open Russia at the end of the episode and then let it run for like 10 hours and then come back in to see how it's looking. Same thing for China. Those two are going to just have a whole lot of cities. Definitely not doing great with our long runs here, but it's just these guys in the middle that just having to clean up, basically. They are getting better slowly. All right, so let's learn about the UAE. All right, the UAE, or simply Emirates. Country located in the eastern end of the Arabian Peninsula. Abu Dhabi is the nation's capital, while Dubai is the most populous city. It's the two of them side by side. And for me, if you're ever, if I'm ever flying anywhere in this part of the world, generally the point that you're going to hit is you fly from Australia into this little region of either Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or Doha if you're going Qatar Airlines. That's your sort of central point that you can then almost fly anywhere beyond there. Which isn't too bad because you can see sort of like in the scope of this, it's a pretty centralized point to all of this. Middle of the Eurasian African continents. Let's get a population here. population as of 2020 is about 9 million. Oh, that guy's sort of lagging worse than the guys around him. Because there are bigger planes in the vicinity, but nothing too major. Have a look at how America is doing briefly before we start adding a few more small countries. Hopefully we've got enough money to do it with, because we're getting a little bit lean. Alright, so we're in excess here. It's the guys heading to London, and London is south out of this one. Got this guy, and again it's London. Just upgrade that plane a little bit, because it doesn't seem like that should be too imbalanced. New York, so it's... This route setup doesn't seem to make too much sense here. I feel like it should go... Get rid of that, get rid of that. And then that should fix that that plane's problems anyway. Not really that bad off that one. Los Angeles, so we'll give him a little plane. Everyone else isn't doing too bad. A lot of demand for Washington. Just a little plane, I think, for that one. As well. So again, let's just give him a smaller plane. Probably upgrade that guy as well. Yeah, you can see that they are really shifting that along to the next guy up. Let's give them a 100-seater as a third plane, just to keep it shifting along. They all look like South American cities, so... Good down there. Blinking yellow is fine. Everywhere else seems to be pretty stable. Port of Sudan. Najaf. I've got to assume that's all sort of heading this way. I don't quite know why that would be the imbalance of this when that's also quite long. It's a weird spot for it all to sort of be getting caught up. Move him to a 300er. New York. It's sort of a bit both ways, I think. I think a lot of those are Africa, so let's get a second guy on that one. I'm amazed it's that one that's sort of beginning to backlog. I would have thought that guy would be the one that would backlog in this, but at the moment these guys aren't shifting anyone. Not much movement through these. Alright, so we should have got a third city down here. Get rid of that one. Get him in there. This is the sound of another city coming in somewhere, wasn't it? Well, maybe that means that there's not too many more there should be more UAE cities coming in, but that's alright, that's the 10 minutes we wanted to give it, so let's bring in Lebanon. We won't join Lebanon yet. We're just sort of going to pull in these small ones that are on the way. So, got the two of them. Now we'll bring in Iraq. And there's no point in sort of bringing in Lebanon and Cyprus to then sort of like sit on them because there's no one who's going to show up. So we'll go Lebanon. Republic of Lebanon. It's part of the Levant region of the Middle East. Lebanon is home to roughly 6 million people. It is the smallest country in continental Asia. Its official language of the state is Arabic, while French is also formally recognized. Wonder if that means it must have been controlled by France at some point. What do we say, about 6 million population? A decent sized Lebanese population in Australia as well. So I wonder what was that move. Nothing I can see at a glance. Alright, let's move on to Cyprus. Island country in the Mediterranean Sea, checks out. It is officially the Republic of Cyprus. Continentally, it is often placed in Western Asia, while being culturally tied to Southeast Europe. Third largest and third most populous island in the Mediterranean. So what do we reckon the other two more populous ones would be? Assume this guy and this guy. We don't have Malta in here at all, do we? Population 1.2 million. Joined the EU in 2004. Which I feel would more bring its argument to being European. Well, it's sort of like you're on an island, but you're incredibly close to 3 different continents right there. Earliest known human activity on the island dates to around 10th millennium BC. Remains from this period include well-preserved Neolithic village. Cyprus is home to some of the oldest water wells in the world. Settled by Mycenaean Greeks in 2 waves in the 2nd millennium BC, as a strategic location in the eastern Mediterranean. Well, it definitely makes sense for that. It was placed under the United Kingdom's administrative base on the Cyprus Convention in 1878 and was formally annexed by the UK in 1914. The future of the island became a matter of disagreement between the two prominent ethnic communities, Greek and Cypriots. So, with everything that we've got now, this probably starts to become a question of what's our game plan for where we're going to continue on with the path. Currently, we've got our path to here. Now, at the moment, my intention is that I go into Iraq, Syria, Turkey, then through this section of Europe into Russia, and then back down and through. But it does seem like with all of these countries, I could quite easily just sort of like extend a lot of these routes out and just sort of balloon them into that, so that from here, this just goes into Turkey and then straight up into Russia, potentially putting some Russian cities on this side. And then, because I think I did also throw that idea out there, that instead what I do is I claim all of these countries and then I bring in Russia and I just connect Russian cities to the cities that are sort of closest to them. That Russia's the one that, because there could be cities here, there could be cities all the way out here. We just need to like spread them through whatever area they're closest to, as opposed to trying to connect them to each other. Once we get through that, we want to end up coming through, I'd probably say either the Philippines or down through Malaysia to hit Indonesia, East Timor, and then Darwin comes in. It could be that we go Timor into Australia, into New Zealand, and then up. And so the end of the line ends up being Papua New Guinea, depending if the city's on this part of Indonesia. And then it would just leave this as the only thing unclaimed. And the reason that would remain unclaimed is at the point that I grab that, we would at that point we would end the game. So there's obviously one country that I can't grab because the game will end at the point that it gets grabbed, and so that is going to be quite obviously this dude. All right, so we won't stop there because, like I said, I want to. I think what I want to do here now is get all of the countries that are in this area, and then let it run so that we can open all the cities. I mean, in the end, we've gotten a fair few cities in Saudi Arabia anyway. Definitely not lean. Grab Syria. Again, that gives us sort of like a nice line up here. That is basically cleaned us up. We can't really bring in anyone else until we make some more money. So that'll probably be that'll be the end of bringing in more countries in this one, I guess. I just genuinely can't afford it. Let's have a look at Syria. Officially Syrian Arab Republic. It is a unitary Republic. It consists of 14 governorates, subdivisions, and is bordered by the Mediterranean Sea, Turkey to the north, Iraq, Jordan to the south, Israel, and Lebanon to the southwest. Capital and largest city is Damascus. It was under French mandate in the early 20th century. It is the only country that politically espouses the Arab nationalist ideology known as Ba'athism. Find out what that is. Population 22 million. It's a Ba'athism is a ideology which promotes the creation and development of a unified Arab state through the leadership of a vanguard party over a progressive revolutionary government. Ideology is officially based on the theories of the Syrian intellectuals. People. The ideology advocates the enlightenment of the Arabs as well as the renaissance of their culture, values, and society. It also advocates the creation of one-party states and rejects political pluralism in an unspecified length of time. Theoretically uses an unspecified amount of time to develop an enlightened Arabic society based on principles of Arab nationalism. There you go. Alright, let's have a look at these guys that are... I suppose these guys are two different ones that have a big plane going to a small plane, so understandable that they're red. It is quite funny to think of how much, say, someone going to Los Angeles from here to there, how many different airports they have to go through, how many potential chances there are that they're going to hit a point that goes red and they'll just disappear. They just cease to exist. And so I get nothing for them. And, or if they do eventually make it, how little money it really is that they're making, because if a direct flight would have got me the same thing. Oh, got a Aleppo up here. It's reading about a trip that took you through the 5 stands. Or 5 of the stands, I suppose, because Pakistan's also there. That sounded really cool. For maybe it was the 4 stands. Maybe it didn't count Afghanistan. There we go, Kazakhstan. The 5 stands up there. So I didn't count Afghanistan and Pakistan. Trip that would take you through the northern 5 stands. Which are definitely 5 countries I don't know too much about in terms of what you would go and see there. There's that Hellmouth thing that you see occasionally appear in timelines from time to time of the the gate to hell sort of fire pit that just seems to burn and is located in one of them. I don't remember which. I think in one of them is where the Russian space program goes from. Obviously where they are, they're old world places, so they've got like cool old world architecture as well. And one of them is one of those countries that's super locked down, and the only version of it you're going to see is the version they want to tell you about. Which again, in small doses, is a very interesting thing to experience as well. Also been starting to read about what other places in Africa could be neat to go and see. I think Morocco would be cool, but I realize a lot of... I think Morocco gets a lot of visitors from possibly America and Europe. But for the same thing for someone from Australia, it's a much longer trip. Definitely down sort of Kenya, Tanzania. Also be really cool. I think that's meant to be good safari stuff. But even if I don't take the trips, I do enjoy reading up on them, planning them, keeping them in the back of my mind. I hope that this gives me a better, like an ability to remember where more countries are located. These parts of Europe and this section down here, I definitely wouldn't be able to rattle off what countries are located in them. However, I do like the idea of that happening, but obviously at the very beginning of this episode, I said, oh, there's 2 cities in Algeria, and I spent a little time fumbling around trying to work out where Algeria was. So not confident that it's going to allow me to retain anything. Alright, well these guys all starting to get a bit red. So up that guy. This guy's doing fine. Up him as well. We'll up that guy. And then we'll give this guy some support as well. Did I make those 300s or 500s? 500. 500, good. Like quite possibly give them all 300 seater 2. There is sort of an end to the struggles that they'll have, and it comes once they get everything through this section, so probably no harm in giving those guys all planes. Oh, I guess you're struggling because you've got this huge thing to take care of, so we'll give you a second fast plane, and we will give you a third slower plane. Imagine that one's... Ah, cool. He's already got some coverage. It's funny to think that, imagine that this line really did exist and that any country in the world, some tiny little island somewhere says, oh, you know what, we would like to be part of this as well. It's like, all right, well, let's make everyone in the world have to divert through your island to continue on. At least this guy here's looking a little bit cleaner. By the time they hit this airport connection down here, this should be pretty clear. Quite possibly these guys could dump enough. Is there only 2 planes on that one? There's 3 planes on that, so they could actually dump enough to overwhelm this guy. And the line behind him actually has 2 planes on it too. So we'll give him a second plane just to try and avoid him getting overwhelmed. Starting to get a nice line through Iraq. That's definitely closer to Kuwait than where this is coming out of Saudi Arabia. There's no one there at all. You've got 5,000 people. Well, that's just probably we've made too many changes that it's starting to collapse again. Something I did point out in the last video as well. Last video I did make the comment that I was well, that I couldn't click on people, have guys selected at the point they went into airports. Someone did mention that that seemed to have already been fixed, which is good. Definitely shifting a lot of passengers through this tiny little section here. Alright, well, what are we looking at here in our ads? So it's getting quite dull, the same picture I'm having to post for each video in this one, because it's all the same Peninsula. So maybe let's switch it this way so we can get a nice look for these guys. So what have we added today? It was United Arab Emirates, Lebanon, Cyprus, Syria, and Iraq. Hopefully we're going to see a fair few countries coming here. I would like to get at least up to $7 million, I'd say, and probably want to go all the way to 10 million before continuing on, just purely for how fast we burnt through all that money anyway. Alright, well, we might call this one there with our extra additions. Any questions or comments, as always, feel free to chuck them below. And when I see you next, hopefully we've got a whole lot more cities on that peninsula, and we've got a whole lot more money in the bank. Catch you later.